Hi guys, how you going? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome. So today what we're going to be talking about is my new STARLINK Mini. And in particular, I've been searching for basically portable power solutions for the Mini. So either I can utilize these portable power solutions when I'm in the car remotely, or camping, or at the outdoors, or touring, or also a solution especially for when I'm hiking. Now, I'm still not 100% sure if I want to take the STARLINK Mini hiking. I will, for those that are and are keen, what I've got for you today is a solution. Now, one of the things I think a lot of people do have at home are these Ryobi battery packs. I've seen quite a few people with a variety of different solutions where they have to solder up wires and bits and pieces, and they can turn their, their Milwaukee battery packs, the Ryobis and so forth, into basically almost little power banks. So I was looking for a complete solution where I didn't have to solder wires and join stuff up. And I was sort of searching high and low, and I found this one particular unit, and this is what I'm going to take you through today. I've got this little box here, which I've purchased from Amazon. So I've got the QR code here, link, otherwise there's a link also in the description. So with this unit itself, look, it looks pretty impressive. Whether it delivers is a different story. So what we're going to do is we'll take you through all the functionality of this unit today and how it works in conjunction with the battery. So with these batteries, there's obviously a variety of different sizes. So this is the 4 amp hour one, 5 amp hour, 2 amp hour, 1.5 amp hour, and so forth. So obviously, depending on how heavy a unit you want to carry, if you're in the car, there's no dramas. If you're going hiking, you might use the little 1.5 amp hour one. And then obviously you're going to test it and see sort of how long the battery lasts. So what I'll do is, whether it's in this video or not, I'll do a variety of different tests depending on the different amp hour size batteries. I think I've got 3 different types which I can test. But in particular, what we'll take you through today is now this. We'll crack her open and yeah, have a look at some of the functionality of this unit in particular, because it does tick a lot of boxes. And I was after something that would just basically, give me the ability to have USB-C ports and USB ports on the unit. And this has got so much more. It's not funny. All right. Crack her open. All right. Looks basically exactly like the unit depicted. All right. And let's just quickly, clicks on perfectly. No issues at all. All right. So let's now have a look at basically what this unit is supposed to do. All right, so if you can see on the Amazon store, there's a couple of units. I've ordered the PSC Pro because I wanted to see a bit more information coming out of the unit, and in particular, the 3D menu is what I'm after in particular. So with this one here, the total output's 145 watts. And in particular, the USB-C port number 1 actually outputs 100 watts. So with the STARLINK Mini, it's super important that you have 100 watt output with 100 watt PD cable to be able to deliver the power that's required to make sure that the STARLINK Mini will work, okay? Now, I've got like a whole other complete video which goes through all the different power setups for the STARLINK Mini. If you go back to the channel, you can watch that in detail. I'm going to cover off the basics today. I assume you're going to have X knowledge. Otherwise, go to that video and that explains it in extreme detail. All right, so 100 watts is the key. All right, so this battery will deliver 100 watts through one of the USB ports, so tick. Then you've got a secondary port which delivers 45 watts max, and then a USB-A port which delivers 18 watts. All right. But in total, so you could have USB 1 and 2 connected at the same time, and you'll be able to get 145 watts simultaneously at the same time, so it's perfect. You can power your STARLINK, and then also charge your phone or your iPad at the same time. All right. I'll take you through the 3D menu switch, which is quite detailed, and there's a lot of information there, which is fantastic. It's got a light which is fully adjustable, which is, you know, bonus. And one of the other things is too, you can adjust the power input, because with this unit itself, you can actually charge the battery through USB-C. Okay, so if you're in your car going somewhere, you know, to your hike or whatever, and you want to charge the battery, you can plug in your 100-watt USB-C cable to get fast as charge as possible. Otherwise, you can just plug in your normal USB-C port in the car. But the beauty of it is that with these batteries, apparently some of them only like to be charged at about 65 watts. So there's a specific switch inside the unit which can basically limit the charging rate to only 65 watts to preserve the longevity of the battery. So that's another bonus. So you can switch it between 100 watt or 65 for the charging of this battery. Okay, important to note. And that's I suppose the basics of the unit. So let's now go into a little bit more detail. So you can see on screen now basically a couple of the readouts from the panel in particular. So you can see the overall voltage of the unit, the wattage. You can see in this particular window, you've got the USB-C 1 port and the USB-C 2 port depicted, and basically showing you the voltage and the current and the wattage being taken through each port, which is fantastic to have that sort of information. And then the second screen is when you scroll through and you can see basically the USB-C port and then also the LED light. So as you can see on this slide here, you've got 3 cables connected. So in particular, you've got the top USB-C port. Now this is actually an input and output port, okay? So you can actually input charge into the unit, or you can be charging something. Or simultaneously, you could be inputting power into the unit, and then the other 2 ports can be connected, charging something at the same time. All right, and then you've got basically the light itself. You can have the brightness from as low as possible to as bright as possible. And then there's also a strobe function as well, which has 3 different strobe settings. And then there's also an SOS strobe setting. Probably very handy for a backpacker to have that going. So here we've got the unit here. Now, look, it's very, very well built, ticks all the boxes. So what we've got here is we've got the USB-C port 1, USB-C port 2, and then the USB-A port. Like I mentioned before, this port here in particular is an input-output port. This is simply an output port at 45 watts, and then this was an output port at about, I think it was 28 watts. All right, but this one's the most important one in that it can deliver 100 watts, which is what we need to power the STARLINK. Sort of, you know, it's got a nice grip on it, so you can carry it quite easily. All right, and then the other things to be mindful of, and we'll take that off. Now, if you look closely inside here, all right, so there's a little switch, and I'll just get it zoomed in on screen there. So there's a little switch internally there where you can basically set the input charge to a fixed 65 watts or 100 watts. So if you're okay with charging these batteries at 100 watts, then leave it on the 100 watt range. Otherwise, just set it to 65 watts. And this is only for restricting the rate at which you charge the batteries. So in this instance, it's set to 100 watts. We'll just leave it at that. All right, so that's the only thing that's worthwhile noting there. All right, thanks again. Clicks on nice and secure. Okay, so you see here, I've got full charge in the battery. All right, so what we're going to do now is switch it on. As you can see, what I've shown before, it's got a really, really nice bright screen. And you can see at the moment, the battery is fully charged, currently sitting at 20.5 volts. And the charging rate that's been set is 100 watts, the charge rate. Over here, you've got this little selector switch, okay? And you can push that left or push that right. Now, I'll show you the screen as I do this. Okay, so at the moment, when you do that, nothing happens. So I dare say you would need to have, oh, okay. Okay, so there's a whole heap of settings. Strobe modes, control, save and exit. Okay, so the actual switch actually has a button on it as well, so it goes left and right. So charge current limit. Okay, so you can set the charge current limit. So I'll set it at 9.7 amps. Okay, so you can change it from 100 to 65 watts here. Let's leave it at 100. Okay, output power limit. So you can limit the power output. So I want it set to 100. Okay, and then screen off after 5 minutes. We'll go power off. After 5 minutes, power off current. I'll just set it to max. Strobe modes control, enabled, disabled, and then save and exit. Okay. And then if I go back here, all right. Okay, so you press this button. All right, so that flicks between the two screens. So the first one's USB-C 1 and 2, and then you've got USB-A and then the LED. All right guys, let's plug in my iPad. All right. So now currently my iPad is actually fully charged. So as you can see, so it's outputting 5.2 volts at 1 amp. So it's only 0.4 of a watt. And you'll notice here on my cable, I love these cables. So these cables show the actual wattage that's being outputted to my iPad. And the whole reason it's not outputting any charge is because, again, I'll show you here, I've got my iPad screen set to 80% in relation to it. Once it gets to 80%, it doesn't charge beyond that point. So hence it's not outputting any power. All right. So let's grab something else and throw it on charge. All right guys, so what we're going to do is we've got my DJI Osmo 4 and we'll just plug this one in. All right, so let's have a look what the output is here. So you can see on the cable, it's outputting 8 watts, and on the screen, again, pretty much 8 watts as well. 7 to 8, bouncing between. Let's pop it on the side. So you can see, again, outputting 5 volts. Perfect, working really, really well. That's super, super clear on screen. And you can see there's an arrow going out in that it's sending out power. All right, let's plug something else into it. All right, guys. So I've got a variety of different things plugged in now. All right. So what I've done is I've got an iPad plugged in. So it's currently only drawing 5 volts at 1 watt. So 0.2 of an amp at the moment. Then we've also got in the secondary USB-C port, we've got the DJI Osmo. Okay, and that's charging at 4.4 watts. Okay, no problems. And then if I flick to the next screen, the third thing I've got charging is the iPad, and that's charging at 12 watts. So 5.2 volts at -2 amps. So this is brilliant. Like, I can actually see what's going on. I've just put the light on. That's brilliant, super bright. Yeah, so that's cool. It works really well. But just this screen is brilliant. So that's all working really, really nice. So it'll be interesting to see out of, and again, this is the 4 amp battery, what sort of life we get out of it. All right, anyway, so you can see as a, you know, quick and easy for charging, absolutely brilliant. So what we're going to do now is we're going to plug this into a STARLINK panel and then see how she operates. All right guys, so what we've got here is we've got the STARLINK Mini. We've got an iPad so we can see the connection and monitor. And then basically we've got our Ryobi battery pack. Now, what I've also then purchased is I have this USB-C to barrel cable. So this is a 5-meter cable. So then this is going to enable us to plug in via the 100-watt port on this into the STARLINK Mini. Now, just so you know, and again, there's a whole heap of videos on my channel, but this cable needs to be able to deliver 20 volts at 100 watts to be able to ensure that this works seamlessly. Now, the reason for the 20 volts, now we all know, and again, if you didn't know, this just requires 12 volts at 5 amps, right? Now, when you plug in a cable like this, and this is a 5-meter cable, if you plug in the 15-meter cable, you'll experience what's called voltage drop. So it might start at 20 volts at this end, but by the time it gets to the other end, it might not be the minimum 12 at 5 amps required. So, all right, I'm sure it's going to work in this instance because this is quite a short cable, but these are things you need to be mindful of. All right, and again, if you want the complete understanding of it, go check out my channel. So what we're going to do today, we'll plug it in, get this operational, and then let's just see if this actually delivers what this needs to be able to function. All right, so straight away you can see it's pulling 38 watts straight away. It's delivering 20 volts at 1.9 amps, and we'll just flip it over. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this outside because obviously it won't work inside. So I'll be back in a second. All right guys, so we've got it plugged in. All right, let's select STARLINK. Let's boot her up. Connect. Done. Bang. Let's go back to STARLINK. All right, so she's connecting. So you can see the sort of the power consumption that it's actually drawing, which is cool. So you can see there it's connecting, determining an alignment. So I'll just fast forward through this. All right guys, so I've just taken it outside. It's just a bit easier with the length of the cable and sitting inside and so forth. But basically, as you can see now, if you on the screen, you can see that we're online, okay? No dramas at all. If I go into the settings, actually, if I go into the statistics and the power draw, so you can see that basically on startup it peaked at approximately 40 watts, and it's been basically sitting consistently, I think, around the 25 mark. And then what I'll do now is I'll show you basically the battery pack. All right guys, so I've just popped outside just so I can show you. So we've got the STARLINK there on the tripod, and then we'll just follow the cable inside, and then we've got the battery unit here. Okay, so you can see it's running around that sort of mid-20 mark. Mid-20s in relation to watts. The actual battery itself is currently sitting at about 19.7. It's outputting 20 volts at about 1.2 amps, and that's where you get that sort of 25 watts. So this unit easily is powering the STARLINK. You can see the other STARLINK cable on the floor there. That's the one from the mains power. It's been disconnected, and yeah, working perfectly. So the only question now is the longevity of the battery. All right. So yeah, that'll be a future video in relation to this unit, and basically sort of how long it will charge, it will power the Starlink for. But at the end of the day, look, it works brilliantly. And especially also, so for instance, one of the big issues with using a battery pack like this is voltage drop. So if you're going to use these really, really long cables and plug them into the car or whatever your power source is over a very long cable, you're going to experience a lot of voltage drop. Whereas for instance, this in particular, you could actually just plug this into the Starlink, and the Starlink could be however far away from you, but the power source is actually then with the satellite dish, okay? You're not having to worry about these long, onerous sort of cables. So from that point of view, that's brilliant. And the fact that you can actually pack that and, you know, it's compact. The fact that I've got so many of these around the house, it's just not funny. So, and often when I go on my four-wheel drive trips, I've got various, you know, Ryobi power tools in the car, ratchets and whatnot, and drills. So I'm generally carrying this with me as well. And the fact that it's just so easily charged and topped up, and the fact that it just becomes a power bank where you can charge multiple things, it just ticks so many boxes. So yeah, I hope you found that useful. There'll be lots of other tests and future videos. There'll be a variety of other different packs that I'll be, power packs, portable power packs that I'll be testing. So go check out the channel for those. If they're not up there now, they will be in the future. And yeah, I hope you found it all useful. Give us a thumbs up. Again, comment below if you've got any questions, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. All right guys, I'm signing off and I shall see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye.